ARE Podcast, episode number 26.
Welcome to the ARE Podcast. Where it's all about encouraging and inspiring you today so you can fulfill your dream of becoming a licensed architect tomorrow. And now your host, David Doucette.
Hello, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the ARE Podcast, episode number 26. And today we're going to talk about what is all the rage in ARE talk. It is ARE 5.0. It's coming later this year, so we're going to talk all about the overview of it, what we can do to prepare for it, and whether this is a big deal, and do I need to worry, and all that good stuff. And once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Eric Corey Freed.
Hey, everybody.
Alrighty, so 5.0, we're excited about this. We know it's coming. Many of us may not exactly know what the deal is with it. There's a transition period, which we're going to talk about. But I guess right off the bat, we should talk about, I guess, the timelines in 4.0 and a quick overview of what's in 4.0 so then we can understand how it relates to 5.0. So where are we with 4.0 right now, Eric?
Well, right now, 4.0, as you all probably know, has 7 divisions, right? And they're named after different aspects of construction. There's construction documents and services, programming, planning, and practice, site planning and design, building design and construction systems, structural systems, building design, and schematic design. Those are our kind of tried and true 7 divisions that we've known now for over 20 years. I think they've been running those kind of same structure, right? The 7 divisions now is turning into 6 completely new ones.
And it seems to be less of a focus on systems and technology, which is still a focus of 5.0. But it seems to be more aligning with the practice of architecture and how we do it in our office on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear these 6 new division titles, you see that these are more really related to the activities of a professional architect, including practice management, and project design. It really seems to focus more on how projects are delivered rather than the elements of architecture.
So I guess we should talk about the timeline right off the bat, just so people have the big picture idea. And all this information is on NCARB's website. We'll put some links in the show notes. But ARE 4.0 is going to be around for about another year and a half. It's not being retired until June 30th, 2018. So
2018, when we'll all have jetpacks anyway. So. Exactly.
So we could actually just not listen to any of this 5.0 stuff, stay on our path of 4.0, and just get 4.0 knocked out before June 30th, 2018, if we wanted to.
Well, if you figure the average candidate takes about 2 years to pass, you've got enough time, certainly, to just stay with what you were doing, do all 7 divisions, and finish them by June 30th, 2018. After which time, ARE 4.0 is officially retired, and any candidate who is on the 4.0 path automatically gets switched over to 5.0.
And just to clarify, the 3 of us, you, Aubrey, and myself, none of us are average candidates, because if the average candidate takes 2 years to pass, you and Aubrey did it in what, like 16 weeks?
Yeah, I did a division every 2 weeks.
And I did it in 7 years. So,
well, that averages to 2.
There you go. There's the average.
Yeah, you're ruining the bell curve for everybody.
So, okay, we got 4.0 now. What is interesting, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is the sort of credit model that NCARB is adapting and using for people who are already taking 4.0 but want to transition to 5.0. And this is important because it can take us from 7 exams, which is what the 4.0 is now. A 5.0 is 6 exams. We'll talk about that overview in a second. But if we play our cards right, we understand the system. We could take 3 exams in 4.0, apply that credit to 5.0, and then only take 2 more exams in 5.0, bringing the total number of exams to 5 instead of 6.
Yeah, it's kind of sounds too good to be true, but this comes officially from NCARB. Essentially, SPD, which is Site Planning and Practice, Construction Documents and Services, CDS, and BDCS, Building Design and Construction Systems, those 3 existing exams count for 4 under ARE 5.0. So you take those 3, and then you just have to take 2 more.
And they have an ARE calculator on the NCARB website. It's arecalc.ncarb.org. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, where you can click what you took. So if you took CDS, you can click the button and it'll show you where you get credit for these the 5.0 divisions. So it's a handy calculator. And according to this calculator, if I click CDS, PPP, and SPD, which are kind of the big 3 of 4.0 and the 3 that most people take first, it gives me credit for 4 exams and then shows that I only need to take 2 more.
And the two more are they're very telling in the title. The 2 remaining ARE 5.0 versions you need to take are called, and again, these are new titles that you've never heard before. One is called Project Development and Documentation, which sounds almost like CDS a little bit, but it's not. And the second one is Construction and Evaluation. So Project Development and Documentation and Construction Evaluation are the 2 remaining new exams you'd need to take. So you could pass the entire ARE in only 5 divisions, which saves you, each exam is $210. That saves you $420 plus time.
It's actually not construction evaluation. It's project planning and design. Construction,
it is?
Yeah, construction evaluation, we get credit with just taking CDS.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Yeah, it's project planning and design. Essentially, project planning and design and project development and documentation are a combination of building design and construction systems, SS and BS. Those 3, so BDCS, SS, and BS, essentially is now making up those 2, project planning and design and project development and documentation. We're using a lot of P words, in words beginning with P, in the 5.0 division. So 4.0, 7 divisions. So we were just talking about some of the 5.0 divisions, but let's go through and talk about each of these 5.0 divisions. So there are 6 divisions. So Eric, what are they?
Well, there's a lot. There are a lot of P's and M's. Practice management, which you can't call PM because the second one's called project management. So I guess you're going to have PracMan, and project management would be ProMan, if you want to have abbreviations. Number 3 is programming and analysis. Number 4 is project planning and design. Number 5 is project development and documentation. And number 6 is construction and evaluation.
Yeah, and so far I'm looking on their website. It doesn't seem like they have abbreviated any of these divisions yet, so I'm not sure if they considered the abbreviations when they were naming these things, but we all sort of abbreviate the 4.0. It's just easier to talk about.
Right.
So so there are 6 divisions. Now, if we go to, let's see, I'm looking for the calculator again. So as we know with 4.0, CDS, SPD, and PPP are generally taken or studied along together or concurrently or one after the other. They're the 3 that are usually studied as a bunch or taken as a bunch. So as we said earlier, those 3 will give us credit for 4 exams in 5.0. Now, this transition period, now we don't have to transition, right? If I'm in 4.0 right now, I can stay in 4.0 till June 2018. I don't have to worry about this 5.0
Well,
stuff.
And that's option number 1. Just ignore everything we're saying and stay under version 4.0. Don't change a thing. Stick with the plan. If anything, this gives you a deadline that forces you to finish by June 2018. But frankly, I think you could finish them all this year.
So yeah, and that's one of the emails we get frequently is, are you guys coming out with study materials for 5.0? And the answer is yes. We'll be meeting with NCARB soon to get more information on the content of 5.0, and then we'll create the materials soon after. So hopefully, in the summer we'll start having something available. Now it sounds like they are planning on the end of 2016 to actually launch 5.0.
Yeah,
There's not a date yet.
What they've officially said is mid 2016. They're going to start releasing study materials, and at the end of 2016. They're going to make the test available. The trouble is that those are both very vague dates.
Exactly. And, could always be pushed back. The point is, and going back to the question we always get, should I wait? And, I think as humans, we're always looking for any kind of good excuse to wait or put something off. So this is a perfect excuse to be like, oh, I'll wait. I don't have to now study. I'll just wait for 5.0 and I'll just, not pay attention for the next several months.
Well, the other thing that'll really confound everybody is that this new 5.0 version doesn't have vignettes. And so I imagine a lot of people are going to hear that and go, no vignettes, that sounds wonderful. I'm going to wait because it sounds a lot easier. But I wouldn't necessarily think that just because the test is shorter and there are no vignettes, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's any easier. In fact, I would argue that since it's shorter tests, shorter times, and shorter number of divisions, that it makes it harder because you have a less room to make mistakes.
Well, and and also this is new, so we don't really know what the content is. I mean, we get the outlines and all that stuff, but because 4.0 has been out for so long, we generally have a good idea of what to expect based on just things we read on the internet. We're not going to have that with 5.0. So it's really, you're the guinea pig. And it's like you're the beta tester for a new software program.
Yeah, you are literally the lab rats. So waiting for, first of all, it's only February right now. So do you really want to wait 10 months to even start taking the exams? So waiting it out for 5.0 that already has an arbitrary date of when it's going to launch, because end of 2016 could turn into early 2017 easily.
Exactly.
And the no vignettes thing sounds like, oh, that might be fun, but they've replaced them with these little case study ideas and these hotspot type questions where you would drag into place different arrangements. So they're not vignettes per se. They're much more targeted and much more focused. And I would imagine that they're designed to be difficult. They're designed to really test your knowledge.
And not only that, from my perspective, I always get leery when new systems come out. I'm not necessarily an early adopter. I usually wait till a few sort of reiterations or a few versions come through, and then once the bugs get fixed out, then I'll jump on board. This is kind of one of those examples because they're doing a new software program. This Hotspots, we'll put a link on there. That's also on their website. They show you some short videos of the hotspot and the drag and drop. Technology crashes. And not that I'm saying, 5.0, as soon as it comes out, things are going to start crashing at the test center. But there's unknowns there. And 4.0 is a known sort of reality. And given that 5.0 is still at least probably 10 months away or 9 months away at minimum, there's just no reason to wait. Just jump in and do 4.0. At the very least, do the three we've been talking about, CDS, PPP, and SPD.
Yeah, don't use this as an excuse to, I'm not going to study now, I'm going to wait. Like, don't fall into that trap of looking for a reason not to study and take it. I mean, I think the best thing you could do is go forward, pass everything as quickly as possible.
I think the best thing you do, we're listening, we're recording this in February, so if you're listening to this, say in September, obviously some dates and things, might change. But the reality is, if you're motivated and you're on the 4.0 path, you could get through all 7 divisions of 4.0 before 5.0 is even released. I mean, that's right. What I would do. If somebody's asking me, well, should I wait? What should I do? It's like, no, study now, take the damn thing now, get it done, and you'll be done 4.0 before 5.0 is even launched.
So if option one is that, really just finish everything before June 2018, if not sooner. And option 2 is, I'm going to wait it out and see what this new 5.0 is. I like new things. I like being an early adopter, and I like all these unknowns. Option 3, and this is probably a nice hybrid. Option 3 is exactly what we've been talking about, which is get all 7 exams for the price of 5, right? Do half of it under ARE 4.0, which would be doing construction documents and services, programming, planning and practice, and site planning and design. Do those 3 first anyway,
right,
under the current model. If it takes you until the end of the year to do those 3, which it shouldn't, but if it does, for whatever reason, at least you've had those 3. Those 3 divisions are critical because they equate to 4 under the 5.0 standard. And you'll be set up to do that hybrid of taking 3 exams under 4.0 and just 2 more under 5.0.
Yeah, I think all 3 of those options are viable. I think I guess the first option would we say you can just wait for 5.0. That's actually really not a viable option. There's just no reason to wait. I don't buy it. Now, let's talk about some of the content of these new divisions of 5.0. Practice management, project management, programming and analysis. They all sound similar to me. How are they sort of different, especially practice management, project management? It seems like they're getting into how an architect runs their office.
Right, which actually sounds pretty interesting. So the outlines have been released for these, and then NCARB is meeting with us later this year to go through in greater detail. So we'll be able to prepare our study guide materials. But practice management includes business operations, assessing resources within the practice, which includes staff and staff time, applying the regulations and requirements of governing for the work environment, so actually running your office, applying ethical standards to running your practice, applying the standard of care, which is it's nice to see that pulled out. And so that's essentially practice management. It's really what it sounds like. It's running your practice, delivery of services, methodologies, impact of using these methodologies. Project management looks outward at the project, right? Criteria needed to assemble your team, project work planning, contracts. So I imagine all of the CDS stuff will be kind of heavily put into this section under project management. And so a lot of the information will be the same, which I think is an important thing to stress. Don't worry that you're studying the wrong materials. I mean, if you're studying now, you're still studying architecture, and you'll be tested on those same things.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're revamping the ARE. The material is essentially the same. There might be some more emphasis on maybe how things run in an architect's office, for example. But essentially, the material is the same. They're just shuffling it around. It's going to be in different places. For example, practice management and project management, which you just talked about, Eric. If I go to the credit model, both of those consist of CDS and CDS and PPP. So they're kind of just combining those two. So they're reorganizing the information to really put more of an emphasis on the practice of architecture. It sounds to me, based on everything I know, this will be good for us. I think this will be good for candidates and interns, because it will be more aligned to how we practice architecture. As we know, the vignettes, or any of us who have experience with the vignettes, they're not really an indication of how good we are as an architect or practicing architecture. They sort of don't relate to the way things are done today. And I guess that's one of the pushes that NCARB is pushing to introduce 5.0, is they want to make this exam more relevant. They want more young architects to go through this licensing process. And, it's a service to the profession. Exactly.
So some of the exams equate quite easily. Like there's a division called Programming and Analysis. That's one of the new divisions. Well, that obviously ties in very closely with PPP in the current exam. So there's a lot of very clear parallels here. So I don't want anybody to feel like, oh my God, I'm studying Latin when I should be studying French. That's not the case. If anything, you still need to learn all this information, and it'll be just tested in a different sequence.
That's exactly it. The knowledge and the information is still there. They're just testing our sort of knowledge, our familiarity with it in a different manner. That's all it is. So we have practice management, project management is really CDS and PPP combined. And now we have program and analysis, which is really PPP and SPD. So they're combining those two divisions. And then they have construction and evaluation, which is just CDS. So those are those four right there. That's the ones we've been talking about. And then what's interesting is they have project planning and design and project development and documentation, which is really encompassing BDCS, SS, and BS for the most part. So I guess those are going to be our more techie divisions.
Right, and in addition to these hotspot graphics, I encourage you to go to the NCARB site and look at them. But essentially, for instance, one of the sections they show is they have a wall section, and you're dragging and dropping pieces into a place to show that you can put together an assembly. So whereas the vignette would have said, okay, design an entire roof, right, as part of the vignette, this is even more targeted. Design just a piece of a wall section. And if anything, I think it applies more to real life.
It certainly does, and I think it sounds like this 5.0 will be a better gauge of our knowledge of how the profession works, both
right.
from the architect's practice side and from the technology side. I
also want to add that the 5-year rolling clock is still in effect for everybody. So if you want to wait, by the way, your rolling clock is still ticking. So waiting could actually backfire on you if you want to wait for another 10 months or so.
Yeah, I just don't see. There's just no reason to wait. Again, take it from a guy who took 7 years to complete the ARE, but there was no rolling clock then. So one important point, though, actually very important, is you can transition from 4.0 to 5.0 anytime. I assume you can really do that in your My NCARB dashboard control panel somewhere in there.
Exactly.
But once you do, you can't go back. Once you're on 5.0, you can't say, oh, I don't like this, I want to go back to 4.0. It's not happening.
Yeah, it's like Lord of the Rings. Once you start the journey, you're going, man. You can't turn around.
So, yeah, if you're hesitant, at least get SPD, CDS, and PPP done. Even if you're listening to this a year from now and 5.0 is out, keep in mind 4.0 is still going to be out, so you have the option to do the 4.0 path. You could, 4.0, as we've been saying, SPD, PPP, CDS, take those in 4.0, and then just jump right in and take those final two in 5.0, project planning and design and project development and documentation, which is actually, that's nice. Once 5.0 is launched, that's an easy path because you finish those three in 4.0, transition to 5.0, which is now being offered, and you complete those 2 exams in 5.0. So 5 exams, you're done. I think that's actually what's going to happen. We're going to see a lot of that over the next year and a half as candidates get more wind of that strategy. I think a lot will start with 4.0, start with those 3, and then they'll transition to 5.0, do those 2, and then they're in it for 5 exams.
I think it's a great model too. It also gives you a nice little taste of you'd have 3 exams with vignettes, and you'd have 2 exams without.
Right.
I really like that. NCARB routinely, I think every 5 to 10 years, they're always doing kind of major shifts to the exam. I mean, if you remember, the exam used to be 9 divisions, right? I mean, that's what it was when I took it.
Well, that's why it took me 7 years, really, because it was 9 divisions. So those extra 2 divisions just really added to the length of time I needed to prepare.
Yeah, that's why. That's why it took so long. But every 5 to 10 years, they kind of tweak it. This is a major overhaul, obviously, and it really started with in 2012. NCARB did a practice analysis of architecture to all of its members, and that started the discussion. And you have to remember that NCARB has insight into the test that candidates don't have. They can see exactly how many people are failing a vignette because of a little glitch. They can see how many people are missing the same questions over and over again. They get to see things that obviously a candidate doesn't see. And they realized, as I think we all did, that the test became more about taking the test than really architecture.
It did. And I think, too, that I imagine over the years that the 4.0 wasn't relating to the profession as maybe they once thought it could. I don't know. But I think there is this mission of NCARB to encourage and reinvigorate young architects that have come out of architecture school to take the exams. Because as you and I both know, we have friends that at our ages still have not taken the exam, and they just lost all motivation. So NCARB wants us to take the exam. I mean, it's beneficial for them, right? It's more money for them, but I don't think it's purely a financial decision. It's better for the profession if we have more licensed architects working in the profession.
Well, I would argue it's less money for them. They're switching from 7 exams to 6, and the exam price did not go up. To their credit, they're still $210 each.
Oh, that is a good point. So they're obviously believing with this new system, as let's say just a business decision, that they'll encourage more young architects to actually take the exam, even though they're knocking off one of the exams, sort of, let's say, losing $210 per person, right?
Exactly.
But they know they'll increase their audience of people actually taking the exam, so in the long run it'll pay off. It's smart. And I think now, the candidates are in a bit of a bit of their golden egg, where they can take 3 exams in 4.0 and 2 exams in 5.0 and be done. And I think that's very generous on NCARB's part to offer that. And I'm sure that's not coincidental. I'm sure it's intentional, because they want people to take 5.0. They want people to become accustomed to it. And then, after a year and a half, after 4.0 goes away, then everybody will have to take the 6 exams. And I think it's generous for them to keep 4.0 around for a year and a half. They don't have to do that.
No, but I think they also realize there are no study materials for 5.0 right now. In fact, we can't develop ours until it'll take us this year to do it. So I think having that overlap makes a lot of sense. The same way that when Apple releases a new operating system, they have a bunch of software ready to go out of the gate, so that way people have things to download when they download the new one.
Right. They give all their developers and everybody gets a heads up, so they know what's coming, and then once it's released, all the developers have their stuff ready to go.
There's a couple other numbers just are worth mentioning. Each test is about the same length as the current ones. So right now, depending on the division, under 4.0, each test is anywhere between 65 to 125 questions, right? We already know that. The new 6 divisions are anywhere between 80 to 120. So it's basically the same length. So the tests aren't getting shorter or longer necessarily. And the total exam duration is changing. The current 7 divisions takes about 33 and a half hours of testing time. The new 6 divisions is only 25 and a half.
Oh, that's interesting. So
much shorter sit times.
So the 7 divisions as currently administered is about 33 hours?
33 and a half hours.
33 and a half hours. And
a lot of butt sitting.
Yeah, that is a lot of butt sitting. And so with the new 5.0 6 divisions, it's what, about 25 hours? 25
and a half hours. So it's still a lot of time to be sitting in front of a computer. It's more than a day of sitting in front of a computer. That should be a nice enticement. I think the test you're going to find, the new version 5.0, is much more targeted and much more focused.
Yeah, I think there should hopefully be less ambiguity with the material, and I'm glad to see sort of the technological stuff be condensed down to 2. We've had structural systems be its own division for a long time, and back when it was 9 exams, 2 of those divisions were actually structural. There was general structures and there was lateral structures. Yeah. So 2 separate divisions. And, as we know as architects, obviously we have to understand structural systems, right, as architects, but we don't have to be as detailed familiar with some of the things that, maybe they're requiring, because that's what we have structural engineers for. It's not as much as in a day-to-day office, but I think that's what they're trying to get with 5.0, much more about how are we working day-to-day in an architect's office.
Well, also think about it. The current version of the exam, there was some iteration of it came out in 95. So you're talking 20 years that we've been using the same drag and drop vignette technology. The software is relatively unchanged. The problems have updated, of course, but the basic software has been the same. And so think about all that just test takers, prometric labs, psychometric experts know about just administering exams and getting to the root of knowledge. Even the SATs have changed over the last 20 years. So it makes sense that this exam would have to update with the times and all that we now know about the brain and how people apply knowledge.
So let's go over these timelines one more time. They're saying, and this is according to their website, mid-2016, so that would be the summer, release of ARE 5.0 study materials and final examination details. So we'll get more information from NCARB, and we'll be working on our materials shortly. And again, a lot of this is not necessarily creating a bunch of new information. It's more of, okay, here's the information we have. Now we have to sort of repurpose it and organize it per basically 5.0. And then late 2016 is the launch of ARE 5.0. And then June 30th, 2018, a year and a half from now, is when 4.0 will be retired. That was a pause for you to jump in.
Oh, and I think what I hope is going to happen is this will be a nice motivation to get a bunch of candidates just to hurry up and finish it this year. I'd love to see an uptick in people taking and passing the exam and doing it now, and not even worrying about this June 30th, 2018 deadline.
Yeah, it's one of those things that for a while the whole 5.0 talk, I would always, respond to candidates is, don't worry about 5.0, just take 4.0. And I still feel about that. I think you do too. That's kind of what we talked about at the top of the show. It's a ways away. Just take 4.0 and get it done. But, people and social media, everyone's jumping on the 5.0 bandwagon. Oh my God, what is it? What is it? Do I need to be ready? Can I wait? And that's the biggest question we get. Can I wait? And again, I think a lot of us are looking for any excuse to put something off, especially like this. So they're looking for permission to not study right now and not take the exams right now. So 5.0 is a perfect excuse to get permission to be like, oh, no, you should wait.
Yeah, and we're not giving you permission. No. Just do it. Get off your butt and do it now.
No, and basically the NCARB has sort of laid it out very nicely for us to, keep taking 4.0 and if we get in sort of that transition period, because you could be listening to this a year from now when 5.0 is actually released, you could still do the 3 divisions of 4.0 and then the 2 divisions of 5.0 and call it a day.
We saw this same thing with when the lead AP exam was updated. It was announced that it was updated. There was a huge surge of people trying to take the old exam right before the new one went into effect because they didn't want to wait. They didn't want to have all the unknowns. And it was a great thing because ultimately it meant a lot more people that were accredited as a lead professional. I think we're going to see the same thing here. So I'm hoping it'll drive a bunch of people to just, finish their goals, plan, practice, and pass, as we always say, and just get it over with.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I think we'll see people continuing to take 4.0 right up until it's retired, just to get those 3 in before they transition to 5.0. At least if they're planning their plan, that's what they should be doing.
Exactly.
That's what I would be doing. All right. Do we have anything else in our overview? We'll also be writing more blog posts about 5.0 this month, and as we hear more information coming out from NCARB, we'll of course podcast about it and blog about it as well.
Yeah. Luckily, we get to. NCARB has been very communicative with us about what's going on. So as we learn more, we'll share it with everybody.
Which I think is great too, and that is they've realized that we're an ally to them in the sense that we help their mission of getting young architects to take the exam and become licensed. And it's a noble mission. We need more licensed architects in the field.
Yeah.
All right, so God, I'm surprised we're done already. Usually I look down, it's like 55 minutes, and when we're still not done. So 35 minutes. We did a show in 35 minutes, so it can be done. Yeah.
And then also we have a blog post with full of links and all the information that we cited, including the credit calculator, the credit, the thing that we've been referencing through the show, and all the information on NCARB's ARE 5.0.
Exactly. All right. With that said, on behalf of Eric and myself, we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the ARE Podcast. Be sure to visit architectexamprep.com and check out our other podcast episodes, video tips, and the ARE blog. Remember to plan, practice, and pass.